Ready to dive deep today? So we live in some model of reality, which is entirely variable and subjective in nature. You may be coming from the belief system that we live in Devil's world, that in this matrix, we are here to suffer. We are here to learn grueling lessons, resolve karmic programs, and essentially deal with inevitably difficult situations for higher evolution. From a slightly different perspective, you may instead, as many people believe, that we are here to achieve heaven on earth. That we're here to learn to resolve these issues in order to attain higher states of consciousness. Or perhaps, alternatively, you believe that we live in a simulation, in which case there is no bias or polarity attached to this status of experience. It is all about isness. It's about consciousness collapsing possibilities in the lower dimensional realm for the purpose of higher evolution and expansion. Now, depending on how you perceive yourself in the role of the matrix, you will be experiencing it. The way that you choose to associate with the probabilities that are constantly collapsing in the moment of now is the way that these possibilities begin to feel within your own zone of experience. Your moral compass is constantly tuned by your own conscience, by your ability to hold space for meaning in your reality. And if you find it difficult to see beyond the threshold of your own self-imposed limitations and the meanings that you prescribe to the matrix, then you will find it very difficult to think outside the box, to think beyond all the programming, all the conditioning, everything that you have ever thought was right, because this is exactly the point that we have reached as a collective. It's this point of lowering our mental threshold of righteousness and questioning, what is it that we actually know? What do we think we know about reality, and how do we know it's true? Where did that source of information even come from? How do we know that what we believe in as a truth is true, or maybe it's just a subjective filter of our consciousness? Or maybe I should say our unconsciousness, which is fueling our reality based on archaic notions of what needs to be deemed as real, which traces back the ideological suppression of human freedoms, of true consciousness, and mainly the source of universality, which brings us to the awareness of love. If you find it difficult to see hope for the future, to tap into your own potential, or to see that indeed in the matrix you're here to learn choice, you're here to learn energetic manipulation, which isn't really a dark concept. It's about learning to attach meaning to your energy in different ways so that you can feel like you're a sovereign citizen of the universe, to understand that you're not trapped by the matrix confines, but rather you're here to assign new meanings within your field of consciousness in order to break through the distortions which are here to limit you to certain egregores of lower conscious intention. What I mean is that we are now going through an evolutionary cycle, which is bringing us to a deeper understanding of who we really are. And this brings us to the essential questions. What is our purpose? Why are we here? What is the point of human experience? It relates to the hard problem of consciousness in that we don't actually know from a scientific perspective why it is that consciousness exists. Why is it that we need to have experience? From a rational, logical standpoint, there is no point for experience. If everything simply is, then it might not even need to be present. Why is it that source consciousness needs to be experiencing itself in the lower dimensional form? And yet the more deeply that we look into these existential rhetorical questions with no definitive answer, the more clearly we can start to see the substance of experience, the reason why we need to be existing in order to ask these deep questions. Because essentially, that is the point of experience. That's the reason why we need to come into this world as beings in a state of amnesia, not having all the answers, being susceptible to conditioning, to programming, in order to give ourselves the test that our souls want us to be experiencing. We're all going through this test individually and collectively. This test is one that transpires time and space, aeons of time, and has shaped the course of human evolution for millennia. This test I'm talking about is what inspires cyclical changes in the collective consciousness. It's what allows for birth and rebirth, for cycles of growth and destruction, for periods of equilibrium and immense change that eventually catalyze shifts in human awareness. But we've gone through definite periods of both expansion in human consciousness and the de-escalation of it. What leads to these changes? We can look, for example, to the Mayan calendar to see proof of one era, which was meant to end at a certain time. It expired in the year 2012. There were a lot of theories surrounding what does this actually mean? Is this the end of the world, or is this just the age of revolution that's beginning, that's dawning on us? Because with the beginning of an end is also the end of some beginning. A beginning that started thousands of years ago, over 5,000 years ago, and ended in a time in which we now need to reevaluate why we are currently here. In this age of Aquarius, we are moving away from another aeon of time. And time is simply an illusion when observed from a higher dimensional perspective. This illusion of time can be observed when we fully choose to zoom out and perceive in the higher dimensional kind of a way. When we start to question, why do we even look at reality through these solid limitations? By using these labels and assigning a certain solidity or fixed nature to all things in experience, when we know that the only constant is change, and that over enough time, everything is bound to go through some revolution, some total transformation, which allows for new light, the light of consciousness, to be birthed into creation. What we're now undergoing is a time of apparent splits, because either we are waking up to the fact that we are being tested in this new transition period. We're being tested on our humanness, on our values, and what we choose to uphold as the program within our conscious awareness, or whether we choose to abolish our soul signature and to devolve into a being that is then ruled by collective archetypes, by the collective programs, which may feel like a brainwashing attempt to rid you of your own nature. Now, there are two ways to look at what's happening. Either we look at it as something that is inescapable, inevitable, there is no choice, and that you, as one being of a vast collective of others that are going through the same experience, have no ability to choose. You may want to renounce your free will. Decide that there's nothing you can do to change because you're essentially a victim. You're just one little ant in the collective consciousness, which means your only chance at surviving is to merge with the hive mind. This is what they want you to believe. This is what whatever overlord or larger collective group intention wants to instill into your consciousness. This is why you may exhibit feelings of fear. You may want to resist what is, some larger global agenda. You may want to escape the matrix because you fear it, because you think that you are not in control, which means you're a victim and you choose to succumb to victim consciousness. Now, as soon as you choose to do that, you're in big trouble. Because if you're operating out of victim consciousness, you become the subordinate in your own reality. Not only do you lose the chance of choosing to step into your power because you don't see that you have power in the first place, but you become susceptible to even more programming, to being involved in attempts to rid your consciousness of your own potential to accelerate your conscious evolution, and to see what you can be doing in order to thrive and to exist in a frequency of love in this collective. As soon as you start to prescribe fear to the matrix experience, you start to suffer. And as you plummet into deeper levels of suffering, your frequency lowers. As your frequency lowers, you start to oscillate on a bandwidth of human experience, which places you in a space of energetically matching more antithetical sources that you don't want to be experiencing. You don't want to be going through those things that you end up manifesting simply because you're in such a state of resistance to all that is. So the only way to circumvent that is to choose the alternative position in your conscious awareness, which is to see that indeed we're in a holographic simulation. If we choose to see that non-dual lens, that this simulation is whatever we choose to make it, then the way that we even look at time, history, consciousness, and the collective mind and everything that's currently going on the collective level becomes much more non-dual in nature. It is whatever we choose to see it as. If we choose to see that we are doomed in this collective, we will be doomed. If we choose to see that this is a time of change and of positive growth to prove to ourselves that we need not succumb to the negative polarities in the collective consciousness, then we will choose to find the light in these pressing times and to see that these times are allowing us to make the best choice for our own conscious evolution. And this choice is so huge that it's not even about us. At the end of the day, we are consciousness choosing to have one perspective. And so if you choose to give yourself this wake-up call, to no longer step into or honor victim consciousness, which means choosing not to fear, not to maintain internal resistance, not to be angry, or to feel out of control, or to lose a sense of who you are or the power that you espouse, but rather to see that there is an ability to choose. There is an ability to see outside of the confines of your egoic mind in order to see the possibilities that are existent outside of you and connected to a higher source of consciousness. And that is, in essence, the higher paradigm which we can be choosing to step into. So what's this higher paradigm? Well, we need to see that the transition that's occurring is a split away from the old paradigm or the old world, which is all about the entrapment of consciousness. It's about order, the divide and conquer model, separation. It's the model that evokes fear because we do not think that we can do anything to change what is. And so that establishment includes control, religion, idolatry, separation, warfare, and all kinds of empires that essentially trap humans in a model of lower level existence. It's the model of survival. It's living from the reptilian brain. It's choosing to see that you have no ability to become a free sovereign citizen because you always need to be interacting with some inferior structure in the collective mind, which is making you exhibit feelings of resistance. For as long as you choose to attach to those things that you are in vehement opposition to, you're not going to be able to enact your true power. You aren't going to be able to see how love is an option, and how the only truth that you need to associate with is that of oneness. This too is a choice, but it's a choice we seldom see that we can be making because of all of the other aspects in our reality that attempt to take our attention, that try to take our control, and bring us into a space of just conformity rather than truly seeing our connection to the One. This connection to the One points to universal consciousness. This is the access to unity, to the soul of the universe, to the concept of God as a source of etheric energy and oneness, the spirit of everythingness that cannot be placed in a box, that cannot be labeled, cannot be prescribed to any one house or system of worship to make you feel a sense of reverence to just one fractal of that One. Because in essence, the only truth is that the One is in everything. There is no reason to choose to subordinate yourself into conforming to only one system, to one ruler, to one leader, one cult leader, one idol, one deity, or any one being, or more beings, that places you in a position where you need to look up to that one that creates the rules, that creates the system, that wages the control to keep you oppressed and feeling like you are inferior to that one. Because this is quite possibly the most dangerous and detrimental lie that has ever been told to humanity. That we are not all fractals of Source. We are not all extensions or individual fingerprints of the One. We are separate, obsolete citizens that lack meaning, lack connection, and lack soul, which is why we need to attach to some external authority to feel a sense of divinity that we are connecting to. As soon as we see that divinity is outside of us, we give away our authority, our status, as a fractal of Source. We stop thinking in terms of energy. We stop seeing the connection to all that is. We stop trusting ourselves and our divine wisdom, which is flowing through our own connection to the field. If we renounce our ability to tap into Source, to feel our own etheric connection and to communicate with our souls through trust, through our heartfelt connection to everything, then we will always need more. We will be lost, afraid, and quite frankly, terrified of who we can become, because we have already chosen to exploit ourselves into a feeling of inferiority. Many hundreds and thousands of years ago, there were great minds, great thinkers. These were the renowned musicians, artists, philosophers, polymaths, and other great thinkers that challenged the status quo, and these individuals were often severely oppressed. They were ostracized from society. They were secluded. They were estranged from the world for their daring nature and their audacity to ask the deep questions of why. Why is reality the way that it is? How can we think outside the box? How can we develop solutions to free the intellectual capacity of mankind and start to experience a new world? A new world that is not like the New World Order of control and conformity, but like the new world of artistic creation, of universal consciousness, of interconnection, and of truth through the connection between the heart and the mind. This truth is now something that millions of people are waking up to. Millions of people around the world are asking the questions that you and I are. Millions of people are choosing to venture into the space of conscious exploration. And yet, at the same time, millions of people are choosing to stay stuck in fear. They're choosing to just walk the line of possibilities without fully acknowledging their potential to burst into a space of true acceptance, true self-love, true self-realization, realizing that if they are a fractal of the Creator, they can choose to create this new reality, which involves all of us stepping into our power and knowing that now is a time to yield to divine inspiration and to the truth of who we are, which means embracing our authenticity and choosing not to succumb to any of the power struggles that are currently waged on a collective level. What you are experiencing as a being in connection with your soul, by tapping into your intuition and learning to acknowledge the cues of your higher self, is that perhaps this is intellect you're tapping into and channeling that exists millions of years in the future. What you're able to channel when you choose to open up your physical channel to allow information to stream through your higher chakra system, through your third eye, through your crown, through every modem of your awareness, which is non-local in nature, not physically confined to your intellect and learned experience, is that you can tap into etheric knowledge. This is the space from which all ideas were born, from which all geniuses, creatives, musicians, masterminds, and polymaths of the old and new have chosen to take their awareness from. We do not own this awareness. Whenever you have some brilliant download that enters your field, you're not coming up with this information. You're simply allowing yourself to receive from Source. This is you becoming open enough to become a permeable barrier of consciousness, to allow yourself to selectively receive when you are a frequency or energetic match to that information. And the only way that you can be that energetic match is by allowing yourself to feel, to honor your own heart space, to choose to venture into the future, not with fear, not with a sense of reservation, but rather with complete openness, by giving yourself the energetic invitation to fully feel and to embody the truth that wants to come to and through you. If everybody were to tap into this domain of etheric knowledge, which is essentially connecting to the Duroc Sea, or the Akashic Field, that space of higher knowing, which is the bank of universal consciousness accessible to all of us at all times, we would start to become these sovereign beings of the universe. Without a need to rebel against what is, we would start to tap into knowledge that would free us and bring our souls the knowledge that we need to build a new world altogether. If we choose to do this, we will end up passing the test of conformity by simply choosing not to conform, by choosing to trust more in the divine wisdom of the One rather than the obsolete wisdom of some groups of individuals, the hierarchical methods that are here to enslave the mind. If you choose to be enslaving your own mind, you will never tap into these higher possibilities. And so this means that the test is ultimately on you. Though you may think that we are all collectively going through a testing period, you are contributing to whether or not this collective test will be passed through your own observation of what is, through your own reaction, through the informed response that you are making by routing energy through your consciousness, giving yourself the space to either feel and to be, or to be trapped in a limited mindset, which is what certain groups and individuals are wanting you to be experiencing. Choose not to resist and to explore the creative potentials found in such times that we have all chosen to incarnate in order to understand the why of your existence, to be able to choose to become even more than you currently are allowing yourself to be, which entails you giving yourself the permission to be your soul in physical form, to fear not what was or what can be, but to realize that your destiny is to expand. Consciousness is always destined to expand, but are we? Are we going to make this choice to embody our truth fully, or are we going to choose to refute it? Are we going to battle ourselves? Because this inner battle is essentially leading to the obstruction of all possibilities that we want to be experiencing on the collective level. Consider your role in the all, and see how maybe the small decisions that you are making to either seclude yourself from the concept of oneness or to integrate with it is impacting your entire reality, and maybe the reality that we are all experiencing. Consider how your ability to evolve connects to the collective evolution, and seeing that you can pass this test by giving yourself permission To choose to see the Earth as a school for higher evolution will allow you to be that sovereign archetype of the One and give yourself the permission to also do the same for the collective.